Hi, this is Ken Sagos. I play Kincaid in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 and 4 on the Great Horror Squad podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the Horror Squad podcast. This is episode number 252. Tonight we're talking about 1991's Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. I'm one of your co-hosts, Todd. We have Steve. Joe, unfortunately, is out tonight, so we miss him. Steve, what's going on?
Well, potentially a lot because we're actually recording this a week early because I'm going to California for the first time in my life, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm actually going to meet some listeners and take in some California stuff. I'm going for relaxing this time, not any special events or stuff like that. So I'm super excited. So that's why we're recording early. So it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode than usual, but don't worry. Next episode we're going back to our kind of full format there. But yeah. I'm psyched. I'm only it's only 3 days away from the time we're recording till I fly to California. I am not ready whatsoever. I have zero things packed. So it's just one of those things. I'll go there and enjoy myself and send some of our listeners a little bit of a Canadian treat pack like I gave you.
Oh my God, I'm still eating it. So good.
And actually, I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, and I was curious.
Oh.
So I gave Todd just a few like Canadian chocolate bars and chip bags and stuff like that, just to kind of give them a taste of what Canadian treats are like. And I'm curious which ones were your favorites, which one you didn't like, and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to get the chip brand wrong again. It's Ruffles All Seasons.
All dressed.
All right, Ruffles All Dressed it was fucking legit. It's got like every little seasoning on it, and I absolutely loved it. So that would be my favorite item. Least favorite would be Lay's ketchup. And my kids were like, all right, before you eat this, think about what ketchup tastes like. I'm like, all right. And they're like, eat this chip. I'm like, it tastes like ketchup. So like, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not like a huge ketchup person. As far as chocolate went, I really like the coffee crisp. Those are really good. The Arrow, I think, chocolates. Yep. They're really airy. Those are really good. The Kit Kats taste differently than the American one. I think it might just be like because Joe said it did, and now I'm like, yeah, it tastes differently. The maple cookies everything was good, man. Like even the ketchup chips I would eat, I just wouldn't prefer them. So yeah, I was super down with that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's I still got to go and try like Canadian American ones because I hear that about Kit Kat as well. It's a different chocolate to like wafer ratio apparently, and they're better in Canada. But I've never tried an American Kit Kat, so.
The Smarties I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yeah, it's kind of a chalky M&M. If they were trying.
I remember you saying it was like M&Ms, so I'm like, this is definitely not M&Ms because it's way different.
Yeah, it's probably the closest thing to it is like kind of candied chocolate, but yeah, I don't love them either. I prefer M&Ms like by far, but it's something unique to us. I know you guys, your Smarties are Rockets, so it's a totally different thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's
cool.
I'm glad you liked it. I also threw in some like shit chocolate in there just to give you like a taste of our Toonie and our Looney. It's the ones that are shaped like coins.
Oh yeah,
our $1 and our $2 coins.
I still have that giant one.
the $2.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So I'm gonna give some of that stuff to some of our listeners in California, and hopefully they like it as well. So what are you up to these days, Todd?
Let's see. We just recorded the other episode yesterday, so not a lot has gone on since then. This weekend, final football game for my son. His other one got delayed a couple weeks because of rain. Thankfully in Texas it rained, and I'm like loving it. But other than that, not a lot. Just playing a couple video games that came out. Resident Evil 4 for the horror fans coming out soon. The remake, that's awesome. I think that's in March, I believe. But yeah, nothing crazy.
Yeah, as video game fans, we are gonna have some fucking killer releases coming up. We're very, very lucky with the upcoming releases. We have Callisto Protocol, which is kind of a Dead Space thing. We have the Dead Space remake, which is coming out soon as well. We got Resident Evil 4, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I can't remember offhand. I know there's one in space coming up. Yeah, it's good. It's a good time to be a horror fan.
What's that one? Blight. that pre-alpha footage looks really good. We were night fighting zombies. That was pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Movies wise, Pearl comes out on Blu-ray in I think about a little over a week. So I'm gonna grab that one and then we'll review that on the pod. But um, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on the horizon, so I'm psyched.
Yeah, that's going to be a first,
Last of Us
actually. I
too.
think. Yeah, last. It's actually in my
January.
news. I'm going to
Huh.
talk about that, and yeah, it's I think Pearl might be a first on our podcast where we review two films from the same series that are like brand new from the year, because it's pretty rare that they release two films from a series in the same year. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too if they'll both be on our top tens because reviews for Pearl have been good, and then X obviously we all liked. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, X is still on my top tens,
Yeah,
and
me too.
at this
Top
point,
five.
I really don't think it's going to get knocked down out of my list. But
The
who knows?
only one I'm like maybe thinking I'm gonna really like is that one with what's it called, the Santa one with Hopper
Oh
from
yeah,
Stranger
the
Things.
Silent Night
It's
or
Vicious
Deadly
Night.
Night, Vicious, yeah, something
I
like
think
that.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks like it could be like a fun sleeper slasher. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think that one's in I think mid-December, maybe
Yeah,
early December, but check that out.
yeah. We're getting down to the wire, so there aren't a ton of movies out
Mhm.
there that can kind of knock off. I know there was Pray for the Devil I was really excited about, but by all accounts, it's not good.
It's getting shit on.
Yeah, so that's very disappointing because I was really looking forward to that. There's also that chef one. It might just be called The Chef. That
Um,
looks pretty crazy
yeah,
as
with
well.
Anya Taylor-Joy, right?
Or the Menu or something.
I
Yeah,
think it's the
something like
Menu.
that.
I think
Yeah, it
that's what
might
it's
be the
called.
Menu.
That looks good.
So that could be a contender as well. Pearl, a Smile apparently is pretty good,
Mm.
so we'll see. So there are definitely some contenders left, but I think at this point our top 10 is getting
Yeah.
completed and stuff. But yeah, it's a good year, I gotta say. I think this year is already better than last year. So
I'd have to compare. Off the top of my head, I would probably say no.
no, really,
Yeah, because I had the Vicious Fun was really cool. Um, the one where the guy gets out of prison and goes to like Finland or something. It's pretty
oh
cool.
yeah, right. I forget what it's called, but yeah,
Vicious Fun, I think.
no, Vicious Fun is the one.
Did I just talk about
Yeah,
that one?
yeah,
Oh,
it's the one with the like AA meeting for serial
oh
killers.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I don't wonder what that one is called then. But I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun on my worst slash disappointment top bottom five of the year because there's some like stinkers on there this time, especially like with Halloween being decisive and
Mm.
that shark movie, fucking terrible. Annie and her rap taxi driving
Oh,
thing.
Christ, yeah,
What was that called? Dash cam.
dash cam.
God, that's freaking awful.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun list for sure. I'm
Mm,
looking forward to this year's list. I think it's funny. So last year I did a thing where I watched 100 2022 movies,
that's
and
crazy.
I remember really like pushing myself near the end of the year to hit that goal. And I said at the end that there was no way I was doing it again. That was kind of a 1 year thing. I'm almost there already, and I didn't push myself this year. There's just so much good stuff that has come out this year, and I was comparing the list before, and I have a lot more that's like a 6 and above than I did last year. Like last year I had a lot of 1 to 4s, so yeah, I think this year's been like a good middle round. There isn't a movie that I can say this is for sure my number one. You know, that's the one thing I'm missing this year. I
Mhm.
don't have like one title that I can point to and say there's no fucking way anything's gonna beat this. They're all like really good films, but not like great films. So
Yeah, no, I agree. There wasn't something. There's nothing like like you said. There's this is it. Nothing can dethrone it.
right,
So, which is a bummer, but it is what it is.
no, exactly. All right. So since we have a bit of a shorter episode, we're just going to do 2 segments before we get to our review. Joe usually does this, so bear with me. We're going to do a little bit of news, just a few stories that I looked over on Twitter mostly and want to talk about. The first one actually came to me as a surprise, and a happy surprise for me, and that's Terrifier 2 is being sent in for Academy Award contention. So the way it works for the Academy Awards is you have to actually send your movie in to get essentially tested so it could maybe be selected as a nomination, and that's the way you do it. They don't just like pick him out of nowhere. You actually have to like apply for it. So the people who made Terrifier 2 decided, fuck it, let's send Terrifier 2 for contention and see what happens. Now, I think there's no fucking way in hell that this movie is going to get nominated for anything. If like the slightest like 0.1% chance that something does, I think it would be for makeup, because I mean Damien Leone does an incredible job in that movie. But I am just thrilled that they did this, because all those uptight Academy Award like, you know, jury selection people now have to watch Terrifier 2 and kind of see what's going on. So that makes me happy. What do you think of this news?
It's pretty funny. I can imagine like a bunch of prissy people in suits like drinking mimosas and watching this movie. But I think it's more for like shits and giggles, them submitting it. I bet you there's going to be like a blurb on like a poster or something, Academy Award considered film,
Right.
or submitted, or something cute like that. So I think it's hilarious personally, because there's no chance in hell this is getting anything, um unless they had like, you know, a new, didn't they add like best like stunts now into the Academy Awards or something like that?
Something like that, but
Pretty
I don't
sure.
I don't know if stunts would do it. I say makeup is really the closest thing that they could get, like visual effects.
Yeah.
But there's no way it's going to beat something like, I don't know,
Yeah,
Marvel or like some kind of period piece or whatever they
right.
usually contend with.
Yeah, I think it's fun though. He should do this for part 3 as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you're right. They're totally going to play with this and just put, you know, Academy Award winner contender, like a little,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I love when movies do that. I remember, I know it's not horror, but when the Family Guy movie came out, one of the blurbs on it was, you know, it's like quotes that people put in, and it
Yeah.
says, "This is the greatest movie ever made," and the quote was from Seth MacFarlane. Yeah, it's just like things like that always make me laugh. So
That reminds me kind of when Kevin Smith went to his own Dogma protest.
right.
Yeah. And the newscasters interviewed him, and they're like, "Yeah, this movie's you know, blasphemy," and it's like this. They're so oblivious. That was hilarious.
Yeah, I love when people do stuff like that. All right, a lot of happenings in the Conjuring universe these days. We talked about recently that The Nun 2 has started production, with most people returning, Tessa Farmiga and Bonnie Aarons as the titular character. There was also an announcement recently, and I don't remember if Joe talked about it, so I'm repeating it, that The Conjuring 4 has been greenlit, and that should be coming at some point in the next 2 years. We don't know any details as to what The Conjuring 4 is actually going to be about, but there are rumors it might be their first case, like investigating, like, you know, horror and everything like that, and ghosts and stuff like that. So going back kind of to the basics.
I'm all for it, and you know, I understand people's dislike for the Warrens and stuff, but I don't understand the hate for like, I'm not watching these movies because they're full of shit. Like, well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still just a horror movie, so like, whatever. But I just saw today too that the Crooked Man got canceled. That's not going forward anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's the last part of the Conjuring Universe updates, is that James Wan has confirmed that the Crooked Man spinoff is no longer happening.
That's good. That was weakest part in part 2.
Who asked for that anyway? Like, that's like the worst part. Like you said, it's the worst
Yeah.
fucking thing they did in part 2, and he gets the fucking
Yeah.
And they announced that before The Nun, so I was like, really? That's crazy.
And the Nun, man, like had, I know we talked about it, but it had like fantastic set pieces. The setup was freaking cool, like the church and whatever, and like God does not enter here, whatever the hell the sign said. All that stuff was great, just like the subject and like the story was shitty. So like if they can correct that and keep what they did well and get the French Canadian out of here, no one likes him. I think they can right the ship with the Nun, because she's terrifying, legit. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think she's great, and like you said, it is a well shot movie, and it's creepy and all that stuff. But yeah, the story was just no good, and I agree. I mean, as a French Canadian or half French Canadian, I don't want to see that guy reprise his role. That's for damn sure. This one is actually, I think, going to make you happy, and it will for me as well. Danny Boyle has teased that there's renewed interest in making 28 Months Later. So the final film in the 28 Days Later franchise. So is that something you'd like to see?
Absolutely, man. 28 Days Later. I have fond memory, core growing up memories of 28 Days Later, VHS tape, watching that amazing film. I mean, Cillian Murphy, how do you pronounce the first name, is amazing in that movie. The whole cast is fucking great. Then part two comes along and you have a new twist on it with Americans coming over and, start restarting Great Britain and stuff. Fucking cool ass movie, man. Actually, that's a young, what's his name? He plays Hawkeye. He's in there.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Cliff Barton, but that's Hawkeye's name.
That's his name.
Is that Jeremy Renner?
Jeremy Renner, yeah, an earlier Jeremy Renner, which actually led to, partly maybe want to be a soldier of all things, because I'm like, this guy's fucking cool, and he sacrifices himself and gets burned for the kids and stuff. I'm about it. 28 Months Later, they've been teasing it since 28 Weeks Later came out. So great writer, Alex Garland, Danny Boyle, obviously a great director. Like, please, for the love of God, let's do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'd be really cool. It'd be a nice cap to that series, and I mean, he's not getting any younger, so let's get it done before he retires from filmmaking or whatever the case may be. So we'll
Absolutely.
hopefully get more news about that at some point. And the final story that I have is something that Todd talked about a little bit before, and that is HBO has officially announced that The Last of Us TV series will hit HBO Max on January 15th, 2023. So The Last of Us, of course, is a story of a man and a little girl who go through the apocalypse together. They're brought together through circumstance and just go through the motions and everything like that. It's based off a video game that's that you could play on Sony PlayStation. And both of us, Todd and I, are huge fans of this franchise. And are you excited about the show, Todd?
Optimistic, because I love the casting for Joel, Pedro Pascal, right? That's his name. He's a hot commodity right now. Started Game of Thrones, now he's in, his Star Wars or spin-off, things like that. So I like that casting. I think Gerald Butler would have been the better one, but he's a little bit too old for the role now. Maybe an older Joel, but I mean, whatever, here nor there. But Bella Ramsey, I'm a little bit worried about, because I understand the like of her from Game of Thrones, but I didn't think she was that well acted. And this is a very, she played that character like a hardcore little 9-year-old girl, right? This is a little different. Ellie's a little bit different, right? She's got that edge to her, but she's also naive and everything. So, I mean, obviously people at HBO know what they're doing. They make great content. That's just my only hang up, is that casting. There's some other actresses that I thought would have been better fit for it. But that being said, the video game Last of Us Part 1 is my favorite narrative video game of all time, easily. And if they even capture half of that on screen, it's gonna be fucking dope. So yeah, I'm excited. I say I'm optimistic, but I'm excited. I'm trying not to get my hopes up.
I just don't know if they can capture the feeling of the video game on film, because if you step back from it and just watch it as opposed to playing it, it's really just another apocalypse story, right? And I'm afraid that the kind of energy you get while playing it is just not going to come through on screen. So I am also cautiously optimistic. I agree with you with the Ellie character. I mean, I don't know why, but the girl from Psycho Gorman wasn't available. Come on, guys.
If you want to make sure Steve doesn't watch it,
right? And
watch out for fucking clickers,
right? And I love Pedro Pascal, but I just didn't see him as Joel for some reason. Yeah. So I don't know, but again, I could be proven wrong, and I will definitely watch it. It's a great franchise, so we'll see what they do with it.
And yeah, you're absolutely correct. At the core of it, it's really just a zombie show or a zombie game. Different kind of zombies, whatever. But that's what it is. But I think to capture that, they need to have the chemistry between Joel and Ellie, because that's literally the whole game, is you guys talking and you growing to love both of them. And then when things happen to both of them, or side characters, whatever, then you're emotionally invested. So they have to capture that. It's going to be difficult. And it looks like they're not going beat for beat from the game script, doing their own thing. So shoot, I mean, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, it's just you know as well as I do, video games adaptations are just they're
Yeah.
so rarely good, right? It's like it's so rare that they do it well. Like I could barely think of things that I'm like, okay, that was an amazing adaptation of that video game. There isn't a lot, you know.
I think of nothing jumps out at me right.
Yeah,
No, that's a book.
like Silent Hill is decent, not great,
Yeah, Silent Hill's
but
good.
it's decent. You know, like there's a non-horror stuff like Mortal Kombat, which I liked, but
Mm,
you know, I don't know. It's I guess we'll have to see. Like the recent Resident Evils were not that great,
no,
and I mean, it is what it is. We'll give it a shot, and hopefully
for
someone
sure.
can crack that code at some point, right? So, and that's all that I had for news. And now we're gonna go into our little Deadly Grounds coffee ad and come back with some what watched.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Alrighty, drink your coffee, kids, but not if you're too little to drink coffee because it can stunt your growth, which I don't even know if it's true or not, or if that's just one of the things our parents told us, just like sitting close to a TV will blind you.
Right.
So
There's other things that apparently could blind you, and I can guarantee you that
I,
was proven wrong by a lot of guys out there.
yeah, it's funny too. Like you'll see, like a news article, will eating lettuce give you cancer? I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, right.
what? Damn it.
Yeah, we're
All right. All right. So my first one is a 1979 piece called Prophecy. This one is an environmental horror where this doctor, he works in like underdeveloped neighborhoods, and he actually, which is strange for a horror movie, he actually cares about less fortunate people. Like he goes in a black neighborhood and he's like, I'm gonna sue on behalf of you guys because you need better access to medical supplies and blah 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 blah. So they set this guy up as a really good character, which is often not the case in horror. Long story short, he gets recruited to go to a Indian reservation in the wilderness that is threatened to get completely logged out. Right, so there's a paper mill and they're cutting down trees, and the Indians are trying to like stop them, and so on and so on. So once again, this good guy character goes over there. Oh, actually, too, his wife is Adrian from the Rocky series. So whenever you see her, you can't help but see Adrian. And they go here, and the Indians and Native Americans are telling everybody, like, yeah, there's a fucking legend where this beast lives in the water. Long story short, the paper mill, they're polluting the land. Shocking. And it's not a Native American legend. It's literally toxic waste that makes animals get fucking big. Um, so the doctor and the Native Americans have to fight against this giant creature, and there's some really good gore in it, really good kills. But also another thing that's surprising for this kind of movie is the paper mill guy that is messing the environment up. He's actually very sorry for it, and he's like, I had no idea, I didn't know and stuff like that. So that was another thing where you're like, oh shit, there's actually another good character. He's not like trying to hide this. He actually didn't know. So that was weird. But it's a solid 3.5. If you ever seen the South Park parody from Al Gore, Man Bear Pig, that is exactly what this creature is, almost to a T. So I'm like, I wonder if they had to, because they're fucking genre. They like genre. People train, what's it, Matt Stone, Trey Parker. So if you think Man Bear Pig from the South Park sketch, this is what the creature is in Prophecy. That's 1979's Prophecy. And for the Americans, that's over on Amazon. No. Yeah, Prime Video.
awesome. My first one is a 2021 film that I watched over on Crave, which is a Canadian streaming service, and that's Lamb. So this is a movie that was on, I think, Joe's top 10 last year. So I'd written it down as something that I needed to check out, and it just wasn't available here for the longest time. Finally dropped on Crave, so I decided to check it out. It's an A24 film. This is a story of a couple. They like herd sheep and stuff like that in Iceland. And all of a sudden, one of the sheep, has a sheep / human baby out of nowhere. And they're kind of like confused as to what's going on, what to do with it. And really, without much fuss, they decide to raise it as their child. They don't have any children, so they raise that sheep baby as their child, and it kind of goes through the trials and tribulations of what raising this sheep child is like. Eventually, they have visitors, and they're kind of like,
The
you
guy
need,
fucked the goat.
yeah, maybe that's
They don't answer it.
no, they don't really,
Yeah.
talk about where it came from. Well, they do a little bit, but I don't want to spoil it because that's kind of the end. But yeah, people come through, and of course, there's people that are like, you got to kill that thing because it's, an affirmation of God and stuff like that. So it's an interesting film, very much a slow burn. I was expecting it more to be a horror film. There isn't a lot of horror in it, so if you're looking at it, like wanting to see a horror film, I'd say maybe this is more on the drama side. There is a little bit of horror in it, particularly in the last like few minutes when the big reveal comes together, and it's a kind of a surprising and shocking reveal. But I won't spoil it because then there'd be really no point to watch the whole movie. You do really get to like that little sheep like child. Just I don't know, you like feel for it because you could tell it's a kind of fish out of water story, and people obviously don't understand that thing should be alive, and it's kind of sad at times and funny at times. So I do recommend watching it once. It's not something I want to watch again, but I'm not like sad that I did. So that's 2021's Lamb over on Crave.
Yeah, that's one I still need to watch. And he definitely fucked that sheep. I'm calling it. My next one is a Stephen King adaptation currently available on Tubi and Prime, and that's Apt Pupil, directed by Bryan Singer, who's a huge piece of shit now, right? I think we learned that. Stars Ian McKellen, who's a great actor, obviously, and Brad Renfro, who acts, unfortunately overdosed when he was young and died, but two great actors. But this one is about Todd Bowden, who's this young kid, and he's very smart, but he's also very fucking weird, little sociopathic tendencies there, and he's very into World War II, and more specifically the Holocaust. So he starts reading about all these books. He's obsessed with like the experimentation on the victims of that. And then when he's looking through a Nazi book, he notices that one of the Nazis looks strangely familiar to his neighbor, Kurt Tusander. So he's like, puts the two and two together. He does some little private eyeing, and then he's like, yep, definitely him. So he ends up confronting him and saying, hey, like, I know you're a fucking Nazi on the run. You're an SS officer. You were in charge of one of these death camps. Like, and you're going to tell me everything about these death camps, or like that's what he doesn't want to fucking turn him in. He just wants to know about all the Holocaust and shit. So obviously the Nazi doesn't want a secret out, so he goes along with it, telling Todd about all this stuff, and how they perform experiments, and Todd just gets off on it. He can't perform sexually because all he thinks about is death. And then eventually it just overtakes him, and he turns into this little fucking small Nazi psycho. And then both of those characters end up colliding at the end. Cool concept on paper. Is also a short story which I read and I didn't really like because I wanted more of the "you're a Nazi, let me prove it to you," but he really gives in after about 3 minutes of tape on film. And in the book, it's like a couple pages, like, yeah, you got me. So I'm like, oh, it would have been nice if they had a little bit more cat and mouse. And then you can see where it's going. Like, Todd is a little psycho in the making, and him just learning more about the Holocaust is going to make him snap, right? So in the book, he gets a gun and ends up killing his teachers and killing a bunch of people. And this one, he ends up, I forget what he does. It was forgettable. And then Dusander kills himself in the hospital because he gets arrested by the Mossad agents from Israel because some random Jewish guy finds him out at the end. So it was strange. Like, we have this cat and mouse between Todd and Kurt the whole movie, and then Kurt goes to the hospital for something, and then a Jewish man that happened to be in the death camps with him notices who he is, and that's the guy who turns him into the police. I'm like, really? We couldn't have gotten something different? Like, it was a little too convenient. Good acting, bland story. Skip it. But since I read it, I decided to watch it over on Tubi. That's Apt Pupil.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. My last one this week is the movie that we had picked for our movie club over on Discord, and we reviewed it together, and we had a really great time. And that's 2018's Hellfest, which I had on Blu-ray, so I don't know if it's actually streaming anywhere. So this one is basically a group of people go to one of those like kind of Halloween horror night type events where you go to a theme park and there are haunted houses and people chasing you with chainsaws and stuff like that, obviously all fake. And you just have like a good time drinking and spending time with your friends and taking in all of the Halloween kind of, horror that the theme park has to offer. So in this one, you have this big group of friends, and that's exactly what they do. And they start going into the houses, and then they notice that one of the scare actors start kind of stalking them, and it's starting to creep them out a little bit. And in this particular theme park, they have different levels of areas. So there's one area in particular that's only for like hardcore Halloween partiers, and in that place, the scare actors are actually allowed to touch you. So they decide to go there, and of course, the guy who's stalking them starts picking them off one by killing them in various ways that he can find out. And there's some clever ways that they kind of get off his, like he gets off their radar, because at one point they think, like, they finally agree, okay, yeah, this is not just a scare actor, he's actually trying to kill us. And they see him everywhere, and they're starting to freak out that he's following them everywhere. But it turns out that a bunch of scare actors have the same mask in that area. So then they think, oh, okay, well, it was just a bunch of different people that happen to have the same mask, so that he's not actually stalking us. So there are some clever ways that they kind of play around with, deniability, I guess, that they're actually being chased. It's actually a decent film. I really love this subgenre of film, like going to haunts and stuff like that, just like Haunt and Bloodfest and this one and a bunch of other ones. And there's a lot to love about it. I love that place that they go to. It's probably like my favorite of the fictional haunts that I've seen in a movie like this. It's the type of place that I would absolutely love to go. And they do a good job of showing that there are a lot of people there. A lot of these other ones, there's like nobody there, and it makes no sense. So it's cool to see that this one actually looks packed like a real one would actually be. They have some like moving attractions where there's people scaring you and stuff like that, which I wish is something that they did at the ones I've been to. All the ones I've been to are just walkthroughs. And yeah, it really had all of the ingredients for a really successful film. But there are two main issues. Number one, the characters, like the protagonists of the story, are fucking insufferable. Other than the two main characters, which are decent, the rest of the group of friends are absolute like trash. And I hated them so much that I was welcoming them getting killed. There's one character in particular that I really, really could not stand. And there's this whole sequence with Tony Todd, of all people, where they like pick her out of a crowd to go under the guillotine on stage.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh,
girl.
Yeah, right.
She's the worst.
And they're like, oh, I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be awesome. They're gonna freaking kill her that way. It's gonna be fantastic. And the guillotine drops, and like, oh yes, finally the character's gone. But it was just a trick. It wasn't actually real. So she's backstage, and then the guy actually like straps her down to the guillotine, and then brings the guillotine down again. I'm like, yes, this is awesome. It doesn't cut her head off. It just like nicks the back of her neck, and then she escapes. I'm like, no, just like, oh my god, it was such a terrible moment. And then like she ended up just getting stabbed, like super, without any ceremony. So
yeah.
And that was kind of the problem with most of the victims, other than the first victim, which gets a really like crazy hammer kill. The rest of the kills are really boring, and they had so many opportunities to do unique and cool kills, and they kind of fucked it up. So a great setup, great story, but unfortunately the insufferable characters and a lack of cool kills kind of brings it down for me. So that's Hellfest.
I really like the end of that movie too, where he just goes home to his family, chills.
Yeah, it shows that like psychos are just really normal people that are psychos on their own time, and that's it's a cool twist. And I'd like to see another one, to be honest with you. If they can just have better characters and better kills, it would be a classic for me. Like, that's how much I liked the haunt portion of it. I thought it was really, really cool. So it is what it is.
Yep. Which one do you like better, that one or Bloodfest?
I like this one better. And I, Bloodfest had a lot of people that I already knew from video game stuff, because it's Rooster Teeth that did Bloodfest, and there's a lot of people from Rooster Teeth. Now, I know. You don't have to tell me Rooster Teeth is like not a good thing anymore, but back in the day, it was a cool thing, and it just, I don't know, it fell too low budget. It's like they're trying to make a high budget film with a low budget crew, and you could tell. So I would say that Hellfest is actually better than Bloodfest, but not by much.
I
What
agree.
about you?
I agree. And then Haunt would be the best out of the three.
Haunt is great. Like, check out Haunt if you're gonna watch something like this. Haunt or Hell House LLC are probably.
I'm like the only person that doesn't like that movie.
Really? Oh, I love it. I love the first two. The third not so much, but the first two I really love that series.
Which is the one where they go to haunted house tours and?
Oh, that's a House October Built.
Oh, I like that one.
I was like so on the so on the first one. I did not like the second.
I heard the second one's terrible.
Yeah, it was actually my first punishment on this podcast was to watch that. Yeah, so.
All right, is Freddy dead?
Speaking of punishment,
I know. Is Freddy? Well, this is supposed to be a fun discussion. Joe's out, and so we lose his because he's more the Freddy guy of the group here too. So I wonder if he really likes it or whatever. We'll see. I guess when he comes back. Freddy's dead. The final nightmare. ... Question mark. According to the tagline, they saved the best for last, which is bullshit. Just when you thought it was safe to sleep, Freddy Krueger returns in the 6th installment of the Nightmare on Elm Street films. As psychologist Maggie Burroughs, tormented by recurring nightmares, meets a with the same horrific dreams, their quest for answers leads to a certain house on Elm Street, where the nightmares become reality. All right. So, where do we begin? This I struggled with this movie, man, and I know I was shocked that on Discord a lot of people were backing this up. So like, wow. But hey, to each their own. But yeah, this movie starts out with this dude on a plane, right? And we're thinking he's in a dream sequence, and then this whole movie is just like a mess because like I don't know where it's going. Okay, so Freddy allegedly sends this kid back to Springwood, right? Because he's the last survivor. But he's not in Springwood though, because the doctor gets him and takes him back to Springwood. So where the fuck did he end up in the beginning? Did I miss something?
So the movie starts.
I'm confused.
So here's how the movie starts for people who haven't seen it. I think most people have, but if you haven't seen it, this is how the movie starts. First, it has quotes. You know how movies start with quotes from Freddy Krueger. Absolutely random. Like, "Welcome to primetime, bitch." Freddy Krueger. Like
Wayne Scott. Or Wayne
yeah.
Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Right, exactly. I don't know why the fuck they start with that. And then it goes to a graphic. It's the map of the United States. And it says, Springwood, Ohio, 10 years from now. Mysterious killings and suicides wipe out entire population of children and teenagers. Remaining adults are experiencing mass psychosis. There is new evidence of one surviving teenager, ... And then the movie starts. I was like, what the fuck? Well, that doesn't come into play at all in this fucking movie. So why did they start the movie like that? It made no sense at all. It was
But yeah, okay, you explained that a lot better than I did. But I'm still confused. Did they start the movie in a dream? In the airplane?
It's either that or the guy's in the multiverse. Like, and he joins this new kind of reality, and it's super weird. So that's how I saw it, because with that explanation that they give us, and the fact that he's in like that plane, and he's like, it's not fair, like I took care of this, and then he wakes up in the middle of the road with like kind of newspaper clippings and everything. To me, this was like another universe where Freddy exists, but they don't really make that clear at any point. So
yeah, but then they also just set up that he's the last survivor of this town, but he's not in that town.
Right.
He takes them back to the town where they're having a carnival where Roseanne and Tom Arnold show up. That's Springwood, because they're all fucking crazy because they don't have any kids anymore. So this movie doesn't even like know what the hell it's even talking about in the beginning of its own film. So he ends up going to he gets picked up by the cops, right? And they take him to like kind of like a halfway house for troubled kids, where this kid, I guess he's supposed to be a kid, right? But he looks like he's fucking 25. But anyway, he meets up with kids, and there's this doctor, and they're trying to, break his psychosis or whatever. Um, and it's just like there's so much stupid shit in this. Like they get in the van, right? And they're driving to Springwood, but the kids are already like they're sneaking in the back, and they show up, and instead of the doctor, who essentially these kids are under arrest, right? They're in like a form of jail. She gives them the keys to the van and it's like, yeah, go ahead and drive back. What? These kids were trying to escape from your mental asylum, whatever it is, and they were hiding in the van thinking they would sneak out, but you're giving them the keys to the van to go back to the asylum where they don't want to be at. Uh, who's the carnival for? Like when they get to the carnival, is it just for the adults?
It's just for Roseanne and Tom Arnold's pleasure, apparently.
Who is a huge continuity problem because she is right outside the phone booth that he gets in, and then she's right in the glass, and then they do a wide shot, she's not there, and then they cut to where the kids are at, and she's there again. I'm like, we can't even get this one shot correct, having her in the background at all times instead of whatever she's doing. So the Springwood people, they all want kids, so like Roseanne comes in there for no fucking reason, just to try to kidnap him, right? We didn't even mention Freddy Krueger being the Wicked Witch in the beginning. Oh, I didn't make us. It's so confusing for no reason.
Yeah, and that's just the beginning. That's just like the first
Yeah.
20 minutes of the movie.
And unfortunately, I looked at it. I'm like, how much longer do I have? The first time I did that, how much longer do I have? I had only watched it for 24 freaking minutes. I was like, no, no.
Yeah, it's super confusing. It starts off on such a weird note. Like you said, you have Freddy as the Wicked Witch of the West. You have Freddy as a bus driver, and it's so weird. It's so weird. And then he goes to that like halfway house type thing, and he has a dream, with Freddy, of course. And then he bumps into a security guard, like in real life, and the security guard flies out the window, but the window is only like, I don't know, like 3 feet off the ground, and he just gets up. He's like, asshole. Like that's it. There's no consequence for him basically pushing a police officer out the window that breaks and everything. All he says is asshole, and that's it.
Yeah.
End the scene. We cut to the next day where he's talking to the psychologist about like dreams and stuff.
I'm glad you said that because I wrote a whole paragraph about this. It's a continuity problem again. All right, because when he's sleepwalking, the security guard, so not us, not the viewers, the security guard in the movie looks at him and he's walking up invisible stairs. So in this movie, he should be on an invisible second story. So how did the fucking cop get to him? Because he should be floating in the air. However, when they get back to the real world or he wakes up from the dream, he's on the single story now. So he walked up invisible stairs. He was floating. The cop goes up the invisible stairs too, and then they end up on the first floor. It's like another giant mistake that could easily be rectified if they just don't show some of this stuff. It's like it's insane to me.
Yeah, it just keeps going, and the CGI on that was atrocious. Just FYI.
And I love the line where she's like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "I don't know," at the top of his lungs.
Right.
It was so fucking hilarious. His delivery of that line, and he rolls down the hill forever when he's falling. It's like a 3-minute hill. I'm like, how far did this fucker fall? Like, why is he dead?
Oh my god. There are so many issues in this movie that it's hard to like, come to grips with just how many fucking issues there are. All of a sudden, like right after the fair, the weird fair that made absolutely no sense, they go to a school and there's this like crazy teacher there who's talking absolute gibberish, but also expo dump. He's basically just there to tell the characters that Freddy had a daughter. And
who fucked Freddy?
It's so out of the way. Like it makes no friggin' sense why this teacher is in this school just giving exposition. It's just like they didn't know how to fit in that he had a daughter, so they just wrote this super random scene to explain it to the audience essentially, and to the other people who get it right away. They like it's even though he's talking absolute gibberish, they look at him like, oh my god, Freddy Krueger has a daughter. Okay, sure, I guess that's where we're going now. And that brings up a whole other thing about this movie.
What, the semen demons?
No, well, yeah.
The sperm demons flying around.
The whole Freddy backstory is
oh god
problematic.
Why are we changing his backstory all of a sudden? Like,
well, that kind of lends credence to it being a multiverse, right? Because like the Freddy from the previous 5 films, there's no fucking way he just lived some kind of normal, like suburban, middle class American life for all that time. And the way he gets burned, it just didn't mesh with what happened before. What he did to little girls, the fact that he had a daughter, is absolutely fucking horrifying. So it does not compute with anything that we've seen before this, which is so weird. It's just so out of place.
Yeah, I get they're trying to make something new, but it was just like a mix of scenes, like. And the absolute worst part of this movie, I think, is Freddy Krueger himself, because he's such a slapstick little bitch in this. Like, I'll hand it to him. The scene where the guy that needs the hearing aids, that whole
Carlos.
that whole torturous scene was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Like the way they played with sound or lack thereof. But then you have Carlos like, sneaking around and like being hurt and stuff. But then you have stupid fuck Freddy in the background hopping around on one leg and shit, playing for the camera. It was like they told him like, "Hey, do whatever the fuck you want, man. I don't give a shit. Like, we're paying you money. You can hop around. You can do whatever." He was just. This is the worst he's been. Period. And I would challenge that to the fucking remake, because at least the remake they tried to be scary with him. In this one, he's just a little like he over the top. He just starts terrible and ends terrible, and there's nothing in between. And then we have the stupid dream demons that he's like a slave to or something, flying around, and they look like giant sperms. Man.
Yeah, that Carlos sequence is the closest to classic Freddy that we get in this movie. At times, the way that his ears kind of become like calcified in a way with like skin and everything, and the fact that Teddy's like not Teddy, Freddy is actually like torturing him with sound and everything. I thought that was really cool and really brilliant. And he put stuff in his ears, and that was Freddy, right? That's the Freddy that we came to know. And even when he brings out the chalkboard the first time, I thought, oh, that's something Freddy would do. But then he starts making it big, and he starts dancing around with it, and it's just like, oh no, this is like the stupid Freddy.
Freddy.
Yeah, he's slapstick Freddy again, and that kind of ruins that sequence,
Yeah, shout out to Teddy Krueger though.
Yeah. His son in the next movie.
If they would have done 7, it would have been totally Teddy Krueger.
Right.
But even like the van sequence is so poorly shot. It's so sloppy, like where they're in the time loop or whatever, and they keep driving around town. That's clearly a universal backlot, and they keep like going to like the same issue, but it's so amateurishly. It's like something I would do in the backyard, like awful. And then the stupid map gag, which I get, oh, let's be goofy, but then it's just like I don't know what their direction was. Like they're like, let's try not to make this as any realm of possibility being scary at all. Let's just make it stupid as fuck. And the opens up the map, says you're fucked. Is that goofy? Sure, but is scary Freddy Krueger? Absolutely not. So a lot of the stuff like did not mesh at all, and there was absolutely zero, like boiler room creepy shit. There's no hot pipes. I'm sure there was. I probably missed it, but like there was none of that like grossness of this. It's just stupid fuck Freddy, man.
Yeah, and that brings us to the whole video game sequence where he's controlling one of the characters with with a joystick. And like there's some parts that made me laugh because it reminds me of like NES commercials, like playing with power, the power glove and stuff like that. But overall it's such a goofy, like people are jumping up and down and he's making them like do all these weird things. Another big complaint about this movie, the music and sound effects are so bad. It's like when I was in film school, my teacher would fucking slap me if I used any of those sound effects because they sound so ridiculous and so stupid. It was like watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like, oh my god, yeah, exactly. Boing, 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 as he's like, yeah, oh my god. And the music was so out of place, and it just they kept using the same like free, when you go on YouTube and you have like that free licensed music that you can use, they keep using like the same song over and over because like they didn't have the rights to actually play real music. Oh my god, this movie, I just couldn't. And then they'd go into really weird, gross stuff. Like, there's a scene where Freddy pretends to be one of the female characters' dad and wants to like rape her, or like they assume, you know, pedophilia and incest, I guess. And for
Shoot,
what?
I don't remember that
No,
sequence.
yeah, she played like it's like this guy in a wife beater. He's like kind of big and balding, and he's all like
Oh
greasy and
yes, yes,
stuff like
yes,
that. But
yes. The blonde chick that,
right,
yeah.
it just didn't fit in this movie.
No.
Like, you're going super goofy in one scene where he's playing with a friggin' power glove and controlling a character with cartoony fucking sound effects, and the next scene he's torturing someone with like, you know, torturing like incessant pedophilia. It's like, ugh,
Yeah.
what the fuck? That's what happened. It's so weird.
Yeah. How the fuck did Johnny Depp get in this movie? Like,
Of
what was
all
he
the
thinking?
movies to come back,
Yeah.
he picks this one to make his fucking appearance.
At least come
Oh,
back
man.
to New Nightmare, like play meta with it. But yeah, this
Right.
one, them, I guess they gave him money. I don't know.
Yeah. Although one thing that I did like, and it's a very small thing, I like that Alice Cooper plays Freddy's stepdad. It's cool to see kind of
Oh
Alice
shoot, I didn't even
Cooper.
notice that.
Yeah, because he doesn't have his like Alice Cooper kind of makeup on. It's just him without the makeup, and I thought that was a nice touch. But you know, they show that he was being abused as a kid. I mean, we've seen that in the other movies. I mean, we know who his dad is. It's Robert Englund as one of the, you know, maniacs that
Yeah,
rape his
it's
mom
what,
in
100
prison.
Maniacs or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, we know he has a tough life, but are they trying to get sympathy for Freddy? It's
Fuck Freddy, dude.
not working at all.
No.
Yeah.
But then to your point, he's trying to play up the incestuous relationship in the next scene, you know? So it's like,
Right.
what are you going for? It comes back to the Don't Breathe sequel, where we're supposed to like the rapist. Like, no, we don't like this guy. Stop trying to force him on us.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because you're watching this movie for Freddy. I mean, let's face it, you're not watching A Nightmare on Elm Street to see, you know, the new protagonist in the movie. You're watching it for Freddy, and then they do all this gross stuff. And it's like, yeah, this is who you're rooting for. You know, this is who you paid to come see, and it's so off-putting and weird. And then he like beats his wife down, and then he, you know, mentally tortures his daughter. It's just, which was such a weird direction to bring Freddy in, to have that suburban life and the daughter, and then he gets burned in the house.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's enjoying it, you know. In the other ones, you see him burning and he's really
Yeah.
like in pain, and that's what brings all the scars. No, in this one, he's laughing with the 3 semen demons. It's just, oh my god, this movie is bad all around.
Yeah. The only thing that would make the suburban thing good, and we talked about in the remake, is if they actually made Freddy innocent. Which obviously we're past that. This is part 6, and he has his canon. But make him innocent and show him with his daughter, and that there's a good movie there. He's an innocent man. He's burned to death. He's, you know, does revenge on the townspeople, whatever. And now he's looking for his daughter. Cool, I'm in. No, he's a piece of shit in real life. He's a piece of shit to his real family. He's a fucking rapist. He's a whatever. You know what I mean? No, it just doesn't work. And they're trying to throw in all these new kind of subplots. And then if the entire child population of a town has been murdered in their sleep, we're cool with that. There's nothing. It's touched upon. Yeah, all the kids are dead, but the adults are crazy. Like, we're not gonna do anything about that. We're just gonna let it happen. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, there are very few redeeming factors in this movie.
It's nothing.
It's really, really bad, you know. And to think that this was the last one, well, you know, that they thought anyway, or that's what they insinuated by the final nightmare. Like, this is what you came up with for the last one. I don't know if you read the trivia for this one on IMDb, but something that really caught my eye is originally this one was going to be written by Peter Jackson. And
Oh shoot.
the way that story apparently unfolded is that Freddy was getting decrepit and weak in his dream world and losing a lot of power. And it so much so that it was becoming like almost a joke, where like druggy teens would induce sleep so they could go pick on Freddy in the dream sequence, in like
I love that, man.
in the dream world. But eventually he does regain his strength and then goes and kills all the people who have been picking on him for the last. You know, that's at least interesting and a unique
funny.
idea. And they threw that fucking script out and picked this shit instead. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, let's make it as least Freddy as possible. Let's go with that script. It's like the fucking new Halloween. Let's not have Michael in it. Let's make Freddy a dumb bitch in this one.
Right.
It's
Yeah. Well, one of the few highlights in the movie for me is that they picked, was it Yaphet Kotto as kind of the main psychologist or psychiatrist
oh,
guy.
from Alien.
Yeah, from Alien.
Yeah, he's excellent in this. Like he does not.
He
fit in this
he
movie.
doesn't fit
So
in this
good.
movie. He it's like they imported him from another like serious Nightmare on Elm Street movie and just put him into
Yeah.
this movie because he plays it super serious. Like he's
Yeah.
actually trying to kill Freddy and trying to get rid of Freddy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a shining light in this for sure.
And can we talk about that final battle between Freddy and his daughter? So you have this final confrontation of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, at least what we thought at the time, right? And in a way, it kind of is, because New Nightmare is a whole different thing. And then we had Freddy vs. Jason, which is a whole different thing, and then the remake. So this is kind of really the last one of the original, series. And the final battle between Freddy and his daughter are the two of them basically rolling around on the floor for like 5 minutes, and then it just ends. He basically gets stabbed and it's over. Just with his own glove.
It's garbage.
Awful. Absolutely awful.
It's garbage.
Mm.
It's nothing to add. It sucks. It's terrible.
I hate it more now that I'm discussing it than when I actually watch it.
This is probably like my fourth watch, and each time I start off like, all right, I'm gonna watch this fucking movie, 100% attention, and then I'm like, nope, and then and then all this end stuff I'm like hazy on that you're describing. I'm like, yeah, I think I remember, because it's just like you lose interest so quickly in this movie, because there's nothing in it, and like any little cool thing they start doing, they revert right back to some stupid, like it's like they're going for one-liners and they're building the script around his one-liners, and how he can deliver them. And man, his performance is awful in this all around.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
It
Honestly, it's like, and you're right. I go through the same thing every time as well. I don't watch it for like 5 years, and I keep thinking maybe I was just tough on it last time. Maybe I wasn't in the mood, so I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna give it, the old college try and really try to enjoy it this time. And every time I'm like, fuck, awful. And I'm gonna do it again in 5 years because I'm an idiot, and that's how it is. Either because I'm doing a series watch through, or I just pluck this one out of somewhere and watch it. I don't know. It's just terrible.
Yeah. No, this is down there with the worst sequel in all the big dogs movie for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Did you ever watch it in 3D?
No.
So my DVD set has the 3D glasses and the 3D thing. It's very little. It's only like I don't know, like 7-minute part at the end when she puts on the 3D glasses, and then when she takes them off, that's when the 3D part ends. And they do a few things, like you see Freddy's face like coming to the screen, and like hands and stuff like that, but nothing. It's such a stupid gimmick that we can go with. I didn't watch it this time. I watched it on my Blu-ray, but yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, it's on Tubi for anyone that wants to watch
Oh,
it
is
for
it?
free. Yeah, I didn't even get out the Blu-ray. I just put on Tubi and watched it when I was sick. Yeah, it sucks. It's terrible. I rated a 0.5 star on Letterboxd, so that comes out to a 2 out of 10, something like that. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 10 because it is still Freddy, and I like Freddy. So just seeing Freddy, even though it's bad, was like, okay, yeah, that already puts it above some movies. But a 3 out of 10 for a fucking Nightmare on Elm Street film, you really have to tank it. It's just wow.
Because even like Part 5, which is one of the weak ones, or 2, which I like, but I know people don't like, those are still solid 6s, But this one's just fucking terrible, man. Like I think we mentioned this on Discord. Would you put this above Halloween Ends?
No. I think Halloween Ends at least did some things that were interesting.
It's better made film.
It's a better made film, yeah, for sure. And actually, I was just thinking, is this the worst of the main, like, the main slashers entries?
The Jason, Freddy, Michael.
Yeah, like my least favorite Jason's probably Goes to Hell.
It's better. Oh, Goes to Hell is better than this.
Yeah, exactly. And my favorite, I think I liked, as much I hate to admit this, Resurrections might even be fucking better than this, but not by much.
Yeah, it's got Katie Sackhoff in it.
Right, but not by much, at least because Resurrections at least somewhat took it seriously. It sucked, but they somewhat took it seriously. This just
The opening for Resurrections isn't bad.
right.
It sucks seeing Laurie get killed
Right,
after
so
the
quickly
H2O's
and-
ending, but it's still like a solid entry. But yeah, this one,
I think this might be the worst of
Yeah.
the main slashers.
Yeah,
Like I'm
I'd
trying
agree.
to think. Like, I don't think there's a TCM that I hated more than this. There isn't a Scream that I hated more than this.
Yeah, TCM, I think the worst one would be Next Generation, which is hilarious.
Right.
So I think it's better than this one. I haven't seen any of the Leprechauns in a long time, but I don't think he's
Okay,
like one
yeah.
of the staples.
No, if we're gonna add Leprechaun, if Leprechaun enters the chat, then maybe Back to the Hood 2 gets a nod, because that one is just
I've never seen any of all the Hellraisers either.
no. I
If
haven't
we're just
seen
going,
yeah,
it's the big three, right? It's Michael, Jason, and Freddy.
right.
So yeah, this is easily the worst.
Yeah, I would think
It's
so as well.
travesty.
But again, something we do in our Discord is we have one of our channels called Horror Games, where we just put a screenshot of a movie we're watching and try to make people guess it. And people got it pretty quick that it was Freddy's Dead. And a lot of the people that were then people started chatting about Freddy's Dead, and a lot of people like it. And I just don't understand why. Like, please let us know. Like, send us a message on Discord or on social media. What do you like about this movie? I'm genuinely curious, because I mean, it's great. I mean, I'm happy that you do, but I don't get it at all.
Maybe
And I'm
they're playing with
curious what,
power. I don't know.
yeah, I'm curious what Joe thinks. I don't think he likes it either, but I have a feeling he likes it more than us.
Probably he likes
I mean,
Freddy more.
It's almost impossible not to. Can't like it less than us, almost, right? So
Did you give this a half star in Letterboxd or a 1?
I'm gonna give it a 1.
One?
I really reserve half stars for movie I hate, like hate,
Like
Yeah.
Death or Dash
like
Cam?
Dash Cam. Yeah. Yeah, it's borderline though. It could have been a half star, but I'm gonna get a 1 star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like watching Freddy vs. Jason now, though.
Yeah, I actually just watched it 2 weeks ago.
Does it hold up?
I love it. I fucking love
CGI?
it. I really love Freddy vs. Jason. It's so good. Like, it's so much fun. Just they don't take it too seriously, but they take it seriously enough where there are good kills and there are clever lines. Yeah, I fucking love Freddy vs. Jason. It's New Nightmare is the one that I've
I
troubles
don't like
with.
that one.
Yeah, me neither. So that's between this New Nightmare, I don't know which one I hate more. I'd have to rewatch New Nightmare.
New Nightmare, I think, is better film than this for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to review it at some point. We keep we keep doing the bad Nightmare on Elm Street. So at some point, we'll have to do the first and second.
Yeah, we did 3 only, right?
And 4.
Did we 2, 4?
Yeah, we did 3 and 4 at the same episode because they both had. Oh my god!
Oh, the Dream Warriors.
Yeah, that's right.
4's good, man. I love 4.
Yeah, 4 is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not as good 3. I like 3 a lot more, but yeah. So
Like 2.
I'm sure we'll get them all at some point. We'll do 5 and New Nightmare.
Yeah.
We've done the remake. So
Yeah.
all right.
Well, that's all we have, I think.
Yeah. So next week we're going to more than likely do Pearl. So that's the prequel to X, which we're all really looking forward to. And yeah, check us out on all our social medias. It's all at the Horror Squad Podcast or Horror Squad Pod or something to that effect. Check out our merch. We don't plug it too much, but on TeePublic, you can just go and buy t-shirts and mugs and pillows and all kinds of stuff. So you could just ask us for a link, or you could kind of search for it. But I know it's tricky with TeePublic because they have like other horror stuff that comes up sometimes if you put our name. So ask us for a link if you can't find it. And of course, Discord, that's where a lot of our listeners hang out. It's a great time in there. And we have a movie club at the end of the month. We are currently voting for a Christmas film or holiday film. Right now, it looks like Santa Sleigh is going to be the winner, but there is an argument for, I think, Better Watch Out. So one of the two is probably going to end up being the pick for this month. And it's going to be a great time. We review the film all together, and then we just hang out and have fun and talk horror and different stuff. So Discord's absolutely free, and just ask us for a link for that, and we'll be happy to give it to you.
Yep.
So
Thank you for listening.
yeah, thanks for listening. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.